Greetings, welcome to another day of Autoforge development. Today we started off by working on planning out this new sprint. So we finished up the previous sprint, which focused on doing some very basic gameplay stuff, and now we're looking at doing input. So we're using Jira to kind of plan some things out here as far as like our sprints go and what workload we're doing for it. So you can see here's what I got planned. Focusing on input handling, and then we'll move on to like character controls and HUD and kind of just like trying to get it so the player can really be part of the world and that there's a world that they can interact with, right? And I couldn't find a good solution on Jira. There probably is one, but I don't really know how to use it for planning out a calendar. So I moved over to Notion, which is something I had been using before, and they actually have a nice calendar, although it's a little hard to see in the dark mode. But we have these different stories planned out here for the sprint, and I got everything laid out, which I think it's actually kind of nice, just trying to see like, gauge how long I think things are going to take, what days we're going to be working on stuff, and actually see how does that play out, as we're working through this sprint. So we'll see. So yeah, we're starting working off on the input handling. And so I looked at what I did for Crea and actually pulled over almost the entire thing from Crea and kind of just rewrote it to fit our new game engine. And I'll kind of quickly go over how that is working, the concept behind it. So we have an input manager that is responsible for all of our inputs. And honestly, this probably could just be made a namespace, but whatever. So you can create new inputs and destroy them, get them, whatever. And so that would be like for different players. If we had local co-op, then each player would get their own input. And then input is made up of actions, and that's it. And so actions is really where like the heart of the input system lives. And that allows us to set up game inputs onto an action. So an action would be something like jump or dodge roll or move left, move right, etc. And so we can set up this concept of an action and then assign inputs to it. And then it can just handle the game events, the SDL events. And whenever that input detects, or I should say, whenever that action detects its input has, been pressed, it can trigger this on change event or while pressed event. And the gameplay logic can handle that. The on change would call like the on jump event, right? And so then the player would jump if the input was just pressed. And so our game inputs support basically any sort of input. We have joy access or joy buttons, just like joysticks, like keyboard keys, mouse, and then even combo inputs like, maybe RL plus down or something like that. And so we can have any number of inputs on an action, and then, it's just triggered whenever. So we can say that we have controller support for jump, like, oh, if you press A, you jump, but also if you press spacebar, you jump. And yeah, that's really it. It's a very simple input system, but it helps a lot because we don't have to like track all of this state for each different action. We just have it all here if we're pressed it or released it, etc. And for Crea, it worked out really well, and I think it will work well here as well. So yeah, everything's well. Well, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching. And as always, have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow.